The U.S. Justice Department said on Friday that Stephen Bannon, a longtime advisor to former President Donald Trump, has been criminally charged for failing to comply with a subpoena issued by a House of Representatives committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Bannon has refused to comply with subpoenas seeking documents and his testimony, citing Trump's insistence that his communications are protected by the legal doctrine of executive privilege, a claim already rejected by one judge. Trump has urged Bannon and other former aides subpoenaed by the committee to reject its requests. Bannon was charged with one count of contempt of Congress involving his refusal to appear for a deposition and another involving his refusal to produce documents, the Justice Department said. The January 6th Select Committee released a report saying Bannon's testimony and document production are crucial to their investigation into the Capitol attack. Bannon, according to the report, said on January 5th, "All hell is going to break loose tomorrow." The next day, thousands of Trump supporters descended on the Capitol building, attacking police and raiding congressional offices in an attempt to stop lawmakers from certifying the 2020 election results. Bannon did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Contempt of Congress is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 1 year in jail and a maximum fine of $100,000.
We owe it to the American people.
President Joe Biden met with his cabinet on Friday to strategize on how to wisely spend the money passed in his $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill, and how to pass the separate $1.75 trillion social and climate measure still working its way through Congress.
One of our biggest responsibilities is to make sure all the money is used efficiently and effectively. It will create millions of new jobs, it will grow the economy.
Biden said he would name a coordinator next week to oversee the infrastructure funding, in a role similar to one he held under former President Barack Obama that earned him the nickname Sheriff Joe.
That's how I became known.
This comes as the White House is planning a signing ceremony on Monday for the bill, which the president said would improve U.S. competitiveness versus China and other countries, while easing inflation that has spiked in recent months.
On this vote, the yeas are 228 and the nays are 206. The motion is adopted.
The House of Representatives passed the measure last week with the aid of 13 Republicans, who then faced backlash from colleagues and former President Donald Trump for breaking ranks. The bill is expected to create jobs across the country by giving out billions of dollars to state and local governments to fix crumbling bridges and roads, and expanding broadband internet access to millions of Americans. The bill was crafted as a bipartisan achievement for Biden, who had campaigned as a centrist Democrat. But it became a bipartisan lightning rod, with Republicans complaining that House Democrats delayed its passage to ensure party support for Biden's $1.75 trillion social policy and climate change legislation, which Republicans reject. It is unclear how many Republican lawmakers will attend Monday's ceremony. Republican Senators Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, who helped co-author the legislation, are planning to attend, according to aides, while Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell does not.
President Joe Biden on Friday said he would nominate Robert Califf to lead the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and urged the Senate to swiftly confirm him. Here's White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
The president chose Dr. Califf, and this was in his statement, but let me reiterate some of this because he's one of the most experienced clinical trialists in the country, has the experience and expertise to lead the Food and Drug Administration during a critical time in our nation's fight to put an end to the coronavirus pandemic.
Califf is a 70-year-old cardiologist and served as FDA commissioner for 11 months at the tail end of then-President Barack Obama's second term. The FDA oversees everything from medicine and medical devices to food, tobacco, and cosmetics. It has been without a permanent leader since Biden took office nearly 9 months ago. If confirmed by the Senate, Califf will take over from longtime FDA veteran Janet Woodcock, who has been serving as acting commissioner for the agency. Woodcock could not legally serve past Monday unless a permanent nominee was named. Biden thanked her for her work over the past year. The U.S. regulatory agency has been in the spotlight as it reviews vaccines and potential treatments for COVID-19. It also came under additional scrutiny for its accelerated approval this year of Biogen's Alzheimer's drug, Aduhelm, against the recommendation of its outside expert advisors. Under President Obama, Califf was confirmed for his first term by a Senate vote of 89-4 with broad bipartisan support, though he faced opposition from some Democrats over his ties to the drug industry. At the time, he had co-authored papers with industry executives and served as a consultant for drug makers. The Democrats have a razor-thin majority in the Senate. Senator Joe Manchin, who opposed Califf's first nomination, said on Friday he would do so again. The White House said it was confident Califf would be confirmed.
And every senator can vote for or against members or people who are nominated. That's their role, but we feel he's a qualified person who has the exact experience for this moment.
Califf has served as an advisor to Alphabet's life sciences division, Verily Life Sciences, and Google Health since 2019.
On Monday evening, the president will meet virtually with President Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China. The two leaders will discuss ways to responsibly manage the competition between the United States and the PRC, as well as ways to work together where our interests align.
The virtual meeting between U.S. President Joe Biden and Chinese leader Xi Jinping is expected to mark the most extensive talks between the two leaders to date. Washington and Beijing have been sparring on issues from China expanding nuclear arsenal to Taiwan's rule to the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic. U.S. officials believe direct engagement with Xi is the best way to prevent ties between the world's two biggest economies from spiraling toward conflict. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
There will be a broad range of topics that will be discussed, and the president's certainly not going to hold back on areas where he has concern.
But Beijing is likely to avoid heated confrontation as Xi faces a crucial year ahead. He's looking to secure an unprecedented third term as president, and Beijing is set to host the Winter Olympics. The U.S.-China meeting will come after Biden signs a $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure deal on Monday, a bill that his administration believes will position the United States to outcompete China.
You're asking me to give an instruction. I want to see the best picture.
After yet another heated exchange with the prosecution, this time over video evidence, the judge in the murder trial of Kyle Rittenhouse on Friday said he would allow the jury to consider that the teenager provoked an encounter with the first of two men he shot and killed last year during racial justice protests in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
My decision will be to submit the case to the jury with the provocation instruction.
In what would normally be an uneventful procedural matter without the jury present, Judge Bruce Schroeder at one point stepped down from the bench to watch drone video presented by the prosecution, showing the moments before Rittenhouse shot 36-year-old Joseph Rosenbaum 4 times.
That's the gun.
With Rittenhouse standing close behind the judge and looking on, Kenosha County Assistant District Attorney James Krause argued the then 17-year-old raised his semi-automatic rifle shortly before the deadly encounter, initiating the confrontation.
You see the very distinct motion of him raising his arms, and you see the black gun being raised.
After further back and forth about whether the video showed proof of Rittenhouse provoking Rosenbaum, Judge Schroeder ultimately agreed that the issue should be up to the jury.
It's the jury's case, and I think they should make the critical decisions.
The ruling is a boost for the prosecutors as it opens the door for them to argue Rittenhouse was the aggressor, raising the bar for the defense, which has argued he was ambushed and acted in self-defense.
I'm not going to give that instruction.
Earlier, Schroeder ruled against the prosecution's request to allow the jury to consider a lesser charge in the killing of Rosenbaum, but said he would allow the inclusion of lesser charges in the killing of the second man Rittenhouse shot, 26-year-old Anthony Huber. Prosecutors were seeking approval for less serious charges to be considered after days of testimony that at times appeared to support the teenager's claim of self-defense. Rittenhouse is charged with first-degree reckless homicide in the death of Rosenbaum, first-degree intentional homicide in the death of Huber, and attempted first-degree intentional homicide in the shooting of Gage Grosskreutz, who admitted in testimony earlier this week that he was pointing a handgun at Rittenhouse when he was shot.
Correct.
The judge said closing arguments in the trial will begin on Monday.